The atmosphere that Mars appears to lack may in fact be concealed in a manner that is readily observable. Greetings to everyone. The subject of today's video concerns the proposition made by geologists from MIT regarding the possibility that Mars's absent atmosphere may be retained within its clay-laden crust. Their research indicates that water on Mars may have interacted with specific types of rock, leading to the conversion of carbon dioxide into methane, which is subsequently stored in clay minerals such as smectite. This mechanism could explain as much as 80% of the planet's original atmosphere. The findings suggest that this trapped carbon might serve as a potential energy source for forthcoming missions to Mars. Without further delay, let us begin our discussion. Where precisely has the atmosphere of Mars disappeared? This inquiry has remained a fundamental enigma throughout the planet's 4.6 billion year history. According to two geologists from MIT, the solution may be found within the clay of the planet. In a publication featured in Science Advances, they suggest that a significant portion of Mars' lost atmosphere could be contained within the crust that is covered in clay. The team posits that, although water existed on Mars, it may have percolated through specific rock formations, initiating a gradual series of reactions that effectively extracted carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and transformed it into methane, a stable form of carbon that could remain stored within the planet's clay surface for millennia. Comparable processes take place in certain areas of Earth. The researchers leveraged their understanding of the interactions between rocks and gases on our planet to hypothesize how analogous processes might unfold on Mars. Their findings indicated that based on estimates of clay coverage on Mars's surface, the planet's clay could potentially retain up to 1.7 bars of carbon dioxide, which would represent approximately 80% of the planet's primordial atmosphere. The researchers suggest that this isolated Martian carbon may potentially be extracted and transformed into propellant, thereby facilitating future missions between Mars and Earth. According to study author Oliver Jaguts, a professor of geology in MIT's Department of Earth, Atmospheric and Planetary Sciences, EAPS, our findings on Earth suggest that analogous processes probably occurred on Mars, where significant quantities of atmospheric CO2 may have converted to methane and been stored in clays. This methane might still exist and could potentially serve as an energy source on Mars in the future. The principal author of the study is Joshua Murray, who recently graduated from EAPS with a PhD in 2024. The research team led by Jaguts at MIT aims to elucidate the geological processes and interactions that govern the evolution of Earth's lithosphere, which encompasses the rigid and brittle outer layer, including both the crust and upper mantle, where tectonic plates are situated. In the year 2023, he and Murray concentrated their research on a specific category of surface clay mineral known as smectite, recognized for its remarkable efficacy as a carbon trap. A single grain of smectite contains numerous folds, providing a stable environment for carbon to remain undisturbed for billions of years. Their findings indicated that the smectite found on Earth was probably formed as a result of tectonic activity. Furthermore, once this clay mineral is exposed at the surface, it functions to sequester and store sufficient carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, contributing to the cooling of the planet over the course of millions of years. Shortly following the team's announcement of their findings, Jaguts glanced at a map depicting the Martian surface and observed that a significant portion of the planet was enveloped in similar smectite clays. This observation raised the question of whether these clays might have exerted a comparable carbon-trapping influence on Mars, and if so, to what extent could the clays retain carbon? Jagut states, "This process is recognized and thoroughly documented on Earth. Additionally, these rocks and clays are present on Mars." He continues, "Thus, our objective was to establish connections between the two." In contrast to Earth, where the presence of smectite results from the movement and elevation of continental plates that transport mantle rocks to the surface, Mars lacks such tectonic activity. Consequently, the research team sought to identify potential mechanisms through which the clays could have formed on Mars, drawing upon existing knowledge regarding the planet's historical context and composition. For example, certain remote assessments of the Martian surface indicate that a portion of the planet's crust may comprise ultramafic igneous rocks, akin to those on Earth that yield smectites through weathering processes. Additionally, other observations uncovered geological formations reminiscent of terrestrial rivers and tributaries, suggesting areas where water may have traversed and interacted with the underlying rock. Geological and Murray contemplated the possibility that water may have interacted with the deep, ultramafic rocks of Mars in a manner that resulted in the formation of the clays present on the surface today. To explore this hypothesis, they created a straightforward model of rock chemistry, drawing upon existing knowledge regarding the interactions between igneous rocks and their environments on Earth. This model was utilized in the context of Mars, a planet where scientists assert that the crust predominantly consists of igneous rock, abundant in the mineral olivine. The research team employed the model to assess the potential transformations that olivine-rich rock could experience, predicated on the assumption that water had been present on the surface for a minimum of 1 billion years, coupled with a dense atmosphere rich in carbon dioxide. During this period in the history of Mars, it is believed that carbon dioxide is ubiquitous, present in every corner and crevice, with water seeping through the rocks also being saturated with CO2, states Murray. Over the course of approximately 1 billion years, water infiltrating the Earth's crust would have gradually interacted with olivine, a mineral characterized by its high content of a reduced form of iron. The oxygen molecules present in the water would have bonded with the iron, leading to the release of hydrogen and the creation of red oxidized iron, which imparts the planet with its distinctive hue. Subsequently, this liberated hydrogen would have reacted with carbon dioxide dissolved in the water to produce methane. As this chemical reaction unfolded over time, olivine would have progressively converted into another iron-rich rock type known as serpentine, which continued to engage with water, resulting in the formation of smectite. Murray states, "These smectite clays possess a significant capacity for carbon storage." He continues by explaining that they utilized current understanding of the storage mechanisms of these minerals within terrestrial clays to extrapolate their findings. This leads to the inquiry of how much methane could potentially be stored in Martian clays, assuming the surface of Mars contains a comparable quantity of clay. He and Geological discovered that a layer of smectite measuring 1,100 meters in depth on Mars could potentially retain a substantial quantity of methane, comparable to the majority of the carbon dioxide believed to have vanished from the atmosphere since the planet underwent aridification. Murray states, "Our estimates indicate that the global volumes of clay on Mars align with the notion that a considerable portion of the planet's initial CO2 was sequestered as organic compounds within the clay-rich crust. In certain respects, the atmosphere that Mars has lost may be concealed in plain sight." This project received partial funding from the National Science Foundation. To support our channel's growth and ensure broader awareness, kindly hit the like, share and subscribe buttons. This will help us reach more individuals and disseminate valuable information. Thank you in advance.